All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Amateur Radio Roundtable. This show is about ham radio, shortwave listeners, electronics, and all sorts of other things. We're so glad to have you tonight, especially if you're out there listening on international shortwave station WBCQ on 7490. We welcome you and would like to hear from you. Send us an email to tom@w5kub.com. tom@w5kub.com. Let us know where you're at, how you're hearing the station tonight, coming to you from Monticello, Maine, up on the Canadian-Maine border. Hey, if you would, everybody out there, maybe I should announce this when we get a few more people. Let's do it now. Hey, hit that subscribe button, and let me see if I can help you out. It's right down there, right there. Hit that subscribe button, and hit the like button, and hit the notify button. We might come on during the week, and you need to know we come on. We might have something really special for you there. Join our Facebook group. Just key in the search bar. Just key in W5KUB, and you'll find our Facebook page, Facebook Ham Radio and Shortwave group. It's called Amateur Radio Roundtable. You can put that in, or you can just put W5KUB in there. And we're also on just about every podcast carrier out there. Anything from iTunes to iNet Radio to you name it, we're on it. That's just a partial set of people that carry the show. So you can download it, or you can just listen to it at any time there on your favorite podcast carrier. All right, so hey, we got a lot of things. Man, I got a long list of things tonight. Look at that. Looks almost blank, doesn't it? Woo!
You got a lot more than me.
I got a long list of things just wanted to hit on tonight. Some of them are going to be a little longer than the others, but we're going to try to hit all of them there. And tonight, Brett has joined us. WY7BG has joined us tonight. He's going to help us with a segment tonight. And we really want to thank Brett and also Earl Griffin. Earl is WA4KBT, who greatly helped us out in Huntsville. I don't know if I mentioned those people last week or not, but they really helped us out a whole lot. I don't know if Doc's in here. The winner of the CA 500 was Don Johnson out of Cleveland, Tennessee, WA4YYM. Everybody in the chat room knows him as Doc, or I call him Papa Doc. Let me see if Papa Doc's in the chat room here. WA4. I don't see him in here. He probably joins. Sometimes he joins a little late. Okay, so anyway, that was the winner of CA 500, Mark II. Let me just make a quick announcement here. I've got 2 sets of Hamcation tickets, and I'm pretty certain I will not be going to Hamcation in February. Now, we could have Hambot give out the Hamcation tickets here on the show, but he'll probably pick somebody that would not use them. And I want to make sure that somebody gets them that will use them from the show here. So if you're interested in Hamcation tickets for Orlando, send me an email to tom@w5kub.com. Send me an email, and I don't know, if I get a bunch of requests, we'll throw all those into a hat, and then we'll pick 1 or 2 winners out of that for Hamcation tickets. And we'll do that probably, in a few weeks. We'll do that. We got plenty of time before February, I think is when it is. So that's the Hamcation. Also, hey, we got a hurricane coming up. Might talk a little about that later. Give you an update on W5KB 113. Every single day it's setting new records. We're breaking the record every single day now. I got an update on Huntsville with the attendance. Several things going on. Oh, let me make this announcement real quick. Anybody out there on DMR? DMR. All right, look. I have an IP radio. Let me show it to you. If I can get the mic out. Kind of tangled up here. Okay. So I've got an IP radio, volume control, display, touch screen. I can put in either, I can work D-Star, Fusion, or DMR with it. Right now it's set on, well, it's set on D-Star. Maybe you can see the D-Star there. Let me see if I can get it close where you can read it. I don't know if you can read it or not. Let's see. So you can see it's on cool. D-Star right now. I'm going to change it to our show. Our show has a DMR talk group. So I'm going to change it right now. Let's see, mode, talk group. Let's see, 3, what is our talk group? It's been on 31693. All right. DMR. And let's see, 31693. All right, 31693. So if you look at this right now, we're on talk group, we're on DMR, 31693. All right, it uses a standard, I think that's a Yaesu mic, if I'm not mistaken. Anyway, it's an IP radio, no antenna, but you plug in an Ethernet cable. That's the antenna, the Ethernet cable, or it is wireless also. So I want to see if anybody tonight during the show can get on DMR and call us and see if it works. 31693, that's a Brandmeister, DMR 31693. So somebody give us a call during the show. Don't worry about interrupting us here. All right, hey, let's jump around the room here real quick. Glenn, come on in here, man. Glenn, how you doing?
Doing good. You know, it's another Tuesday for me. Had to go to work this morning, but we're rolling right along. I got this right here. Let me show you. This is what remains of the book.
Whoa.
That's what I have left to go in 30 days to make it happen. So
that is a lot.
Those are all of the notes and things for the remaining chapters in the book.
Well, I wish you good luck, and I hope you finish it soon.
I think I'll make it. As long as I keep at it, I'll be fine. I'm actually able to work on it at work now. They've given me so little work that I got time at work all day. So your tax dollars are funding my book.
You can work on it at work. Just when the boss comes by, just change the computer screen.
No, actually, when he comes by, he's like, "What you doing?" And he sees all the cool pictures and stuff. He's like, "Oh, that must be your next book."
Oh, really? Yeah. I'd fire you.
Go ahead.
I'd fire you, man.
Go ahead.
Fire you. I'd fire you, and you'd owe me 30 days of work, man. You'd owe me 30 days of salary.
Nope. But you can fire me. I'll just retire.
All right. Hey, guys, I got a problem with my rotor, with my satellite rotor. The azimuth's not turning.
Well, hang on. Are you going to bring Brett in here first?
I'm going to bring him in here in a minute. I'm just greasing the skids here for everybody.
Oh, okay.
If anybody out there has got a Yaesu G5500 DC, come in the chat room. I want to talk to you. All right.
I've got a 5400.
Say what?
I got a 5400.
Well, probably about the same.
They're about the same.
It's an AC. That's an AC motor. I got a DC motor.
The 5400 is a DC motor.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're thinking the G450 versus the G800 azimuth rotor.
Boy, I don't know. Okay. All right. Let's bring in our special guest tonight. We had to find somebody that's an expert on one of our subjects tonight. we'll tell you what that subject is in a few minutes. But let's bring in Brett. How you doing, Brett? Come on in here.
Good evening, Tom. I'm doing well.
Cool, man. It's good to have you tonight. I know it's kind of short notice, but you came through, man. You came through. And again, we want to thank you. We want to thank you for all your help down in Huntsville a couple weeks ago, man. Hey, how'd you like the Huntsville? Do you think you'll go back?
Huntsville was a blast, and I do want to go back. And thanks very much to you and Kathy for your hospitality. It was very, it was little intimidating, but it was very friendly. Once I got in there, it was just wonderfully friendly and social Hamfest. I really did enjoy it. And I also went up, before the Hamfest, I went up to the POTA party at Montesano, which is a state park near downtown Huntsville. And there was a whole crew of YouTubers up there, and a lot of hams camping, doing rustic camping and getting out on the bands, and it was a lot of fun up there too.
Well, that's great, man. I'm glad you could make it this year, and hey, this was probably a pretty good size Hamfest. I mean, Wyoming, you're in Wyoming out there, and you guys your population of Wyoming is almost about what the Hamfest was. So y'all can't have a very big Hamfest out there in Wyoming.
Mm-hmm. We try to get people up from Colorado, and actually we did get we did triple our population with people coming from Colorado for the eclipse. Not for the last State Hamfest, but we still did have a good crowd, and Joe Eisenberg came up and did some presentations. So we have a good time. Yeah,
well, that's great. Hey, just while we're mentioning Huntsville did set a record this year. Their attendance was 5,642, 5642. They had 53 vendors, 161 flea market spaces. No, 161 flea market vendors. They had 429 tables out there and 32 forums. I know Glenn and Bill were part of those forums too. So hey, I'm glad you liked it, and I'm glad you're going to come back here next year. Well, it's a cool one here.
Yes, it took me 2 days to go through all of the tables, find all of the cool swag.
Yeah. Well, I think next year I'll just put Glenn in charge of the whole, webcast, and I'll take 2 days and look around at the tables because I missed it. So. I missed it.
That's not going to work because I spent 2 whole days going through all the tables and still finding stuff.
Oh man,
I don't know how I missed that tuner that Brett got, that SG 237 or whatever, 239.
Or was.
Yeah, I don't know how I missed that one.
Yeah. Hey, I just see Doc just came in, WA4YYM, Don Johnson, Cleveland, Tennessee. He was the winner, as mentioned earlier. He was the winner of the CAA 500. Doc, I think that thing was delivered already. Doc, did you get your CAA 500? Tell us in the chat room if you received it already, and hopefully you've used it there. All right, well, very good. Hey, Brett, thanks, man, for joining us tonight, and also for helping us out at the Hamfest. And let me just move on to some of the topics we got tonight. Hey, one of the things we're going to talk about tonight, guys, with Brett is VPN. And with ham radio, I think it's becoming more and more dependent, or maybe not dependent, but more and more uses for the internet, for ham radio and the internet. So we want to talk a little about VPN. I'm starting to get a little interested in that, and talk about what it might do for you. And Don says no. Don says supposed to be here today, but no show. Oh man, Don.
Oh, Don, that's because I drove by your house this afternoon.
You picked it up off his porch?
I picked it up off his porch, yeah.
Yeah. Doc, it'll be there tomorrow, probably.
Yeah.
I think it was sent with my old company, FedEx, so no telling when it's going to get there. I'll tell you, man. Whew. When I was there, the company ran a whole lot better. I can tell you that right now.
Well, they also did a lot lower volume than they're doing right now.
Yeah. Well,
I mean, when did FedEx deliver on Sundays?
Well, I don't know, but I remember I remember when we did 100,000 packages, and we had a big deal then. But you know, hey, we're in the millions now, millions a night. Yeah.
Yeah.
Woo. Okay. Okay. All right. So hey guys, I mentioned the Hamcation tickets. If you're interested in Hamcation tickets, send me an email. That way I'll put you in a special hat, and we'll draw a name for our Hamcation tickets. I've got a couple sets of tickets. Hey, just a quick note: if you guys want to monitor it, the Hurricane WatchNet is going to be active. I think tomorrow, if it's not already active.
Probably should be active now. I got a friend that lives down there, and she said the bands are already coming through Orlando.
Yeah. It's on 14.325, 14.325 or 7268, and that's the Hurricane WatchNet. And there's some interesting things. Last year, we had a ham from, I forget his name, but we had a ham from New Jersey, I think, came on the show. He actually contacted people through the Hurricane WatchNet, and they actually arranged for a rescue of some people that were stuck at their home, and that went through the Hurricane WatchNet. And I'm sure there are going to be many more calls like that probably this year. All right, I'm still looking for anybody on DMR. Call me at 31693, talk group 31693. I thought, Glenn, you probably know more about this than me or anybody, because you've been involved in the virtual Ham Expo for a number of years, and something new has evolved out of the virtual Ham Expo, and that's QSO Today Academy, and that's going to be coming up September 8th through the 10th. They're going to have 25 top quality presentations there, and it's going to be pretty cool. And you're not taking part in that, Glenn?
No, they didn't have an Arduino track this year.
Okay.
He's focusing primarily on introductory ham radio kind of things. And I've known Eric for a while. 4Z1UG is the coordinator of that whole thing. And the QSO Today expos and everything that he's done have always been top notch. And when they haven't, they've made an effort, and the next time around they fixed all of the issues, and it's really a nice looking way they do this. I've enjoyed doing my forums with them in the past, so I'm looking forward to seeing how this thing goes. But he's doing a really good thing by bringing the education to the masses here with this, and I'm really liking that.
Yeah. Hey, I mentioned, and Glenn, you're probably an expert on this because you're familiar. You're very
two topics that I'm an expert in. Well, you hit them all.
Two topics tonight. Nothing for the future shows, but we're going to hit both topics tonight. So, I mentioned my Yaesu rotor.
Yeah.
The azimuth is not turning. The elevation is turning. So it's pretty simple layout, actually, Glenn, and I know you've designed and built this and understand it, but let's see, I've got a picture here I'm going to throw up here. I think that's it. There you go. It's pretty simple. This is what's out at the rotor. There's the motors out there. It's a 26-volt DC motor, and it's got a potentiometer in there that actually it sends the information back as far as the azimuth position.
Right.
So Glenn, I've checked out of my controller here. When I go right or left, I'm getting either plus 26 volts or minus 26 volts out. So that tells me I'm sending the correct voltage out toward the motor. Okay.
Right.
Now
I'm seeing only one axis there, though.
You see what?
Well, I'm seeing only one axis and one motor. You say that.
Well, yeah. There's another almost identical to this for the elevation. Is that what you're talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't have a problem with that. The elevation's working. This is just the part I'm concerned with.
Just the azimuth.
This is the azimuth's not working. So I'm sending 26 volts out. So I don't have a blown fuse or anything like that. So I know I'm sending the right voltage out. And of course, it's a DC motor. So one polarity is going to go one way, the other polarity is going to go the other way.
Right.
And of course, you got your in limit switches there with the diodes across them, which allows you to reverse the motor once you hit the limit.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm thinking, okay, I'm sending the 26 volts out, but what if the cable has come off the motor out there? I can send 26 volts out, right? But
that's a possibility. That's what Mark's saying in the chat room. Is the wiring's not connected to the rotor?
So I can put I can put my ohm meter on the pins 4 and 5 that the two wires that go out to the motor, and I read continuity.
Right.
I read continuity, so I feel the motor's connected.
Then your next step would be the motor may be frozen.
Yeah.
Those are not high torque motors, and mine freeze if I let them sit too long. And I just need to rotate them end to end to loosen them up a little bit.
Well, I thought also, well, hey, maybe it is turning, and maybe the resistor is just disconnected in some way, and it's not indicating.
That's another thing. You can turn it.
But I checked between pin 1, 2, and 3, and it looks like the potentiometer is all there. So my next step is to go out there and beat on the rotor, and maybe have Kathy here press the button. I'll go out there and see if I hear it humming. Maybe I try to twist it or something, but I'm a little disappointed. I mean, I probably have just a, hey.
That's a brand new setup.
That's an expensive rotor. That's like $900, man, for this rotor.
Oh yeah.
That's expensive. So I'm a little disappointed that this happened.
But if you've got voltage going out to the motor, I'd go to the other end and unplug that cable and see if I got the voltage there. I know you said you read resistance, but I wouldn't trust that as being the actual motor. Maybe it's a short or something.
It's possible. Yeah, I can do that.
But I would go out there and verify that you've got the voltage coming to the motor.
I think if I had a short across there, my 26 volts would be kind of.
You would think.
I think it'd be kind of.
Yeah, you'd think.
Or something.
But the answer right there would be if you've got the voltage at the motor and the motor's not turning, then it's frozen.
I think it's stuck.
Because it would turn whether the position sensor was working or not.
Right.
You just would not see a position value.
Right.
So if the position is not working, you'll notice that the minute, you could bump it and hold it for a couple seconds, go out and see if it's moved. If it has, then you do have a positioner issue.
Now,
Mark, his antennas are not too heavy for this.
One thing that's come to my mind right now, let me think through this. Let's say one of those diodes across the limit switch, let's say one of those diodes went bad and it went over to the side and it stopped. Of course.
Are you sure that's the orientation of the diodes in the circuit?
Well, I looked at the schematic. That's kind of what they show.
Oh, okay.
So let's just say one of the diodes went bad across the open switch, the switch that opens. It goes all the way to the end, the switch opens, but the diode's bad. Now I can't send reverse voltage down it to turn the motor the other way. So the only thing I haven't checked continuity both directions,
Well, that's the thing. I would go all the way out to the end, unscrew that connector, and put your voltmeter in on the pins that drive the motor and see if it does go positive and negative. That will solve your diode question.
Yeah.
When a DC motor gets stuck, very often it gets stuck with the commutator right on the edge. And so it can be almost a dead short. Looks like current is flowing, but it's not going to move until you unstick it.
Yeah. I didn't measure any current.
Oh, if there's no current, it doesn't matter if there's voltage.
I could take one of the wires off and put an amp meter in there, milliamp meter, and I could watch the current both directions. That would tell me if both diodes are good. If I got current going both directions. Okay, so my next step is to go up on the roof and try to nudge it. I think it's stuck. And my only worry
that would be the logical thing.
My only worry is if it got stuck like that, how many other times is it going to get stuck? That's my other.
Well, if I don't use mine on a regular basis, it does get stuck. But mine's probably a 20-year-old rotor. It's the G5400.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna try to get up here tomorrow and do that.
Yeah, and
So-
N7 XGR is asking what's the resistance. It should be 500 ohms between
Yep.
1 and 3.
Yep, I got
And
500.
Pin 2 is the wiper, so that'll vary.
Yeah, I got 500 across 1 and 3.
That says that
and then
those are connected correctly.
I've got the two between 1 and 2, and between 2 and 3 they add up to 500. So
Yeah.
that I know that part's good.
I'm going to bet it's something on the motor drive side, and since mine notorious sticks, then I'm going to bet yours is sticking too.
Well, that's sickening. I can tell you right now, sickening. I don't
Yep.
like it.
May have to have a little chat with Yesu
I'm
because
gonna
yours
have
is
you
brand new,
contact
isn't
them.
it?
Yeah, I'm gonna have you contact them for me. Okay. Well,
No,
guys,
no,
we
no. You
talked
don't
about
want me
it. You guys,
contacting them.
hey, I'll let you know. I'll let you know what I find out tomorrow on this. And so far, no calls on 31693. No calls. Let me see here. This is W5KUB, talk group 31693. Anybody out there? Maybe nobody's on DMR anymore. I don't know. Okay.
I never got on it, so I can't help you there.
Well, I bought this little IP radio because it was so easy to go D-Star Fusion, whatever, just,
No, I like the fact that it does them all.
Yeah, yeah, and it's a, well, wait a minute. I saw the screen change, I don't know. Okay. All right. Hey, just a couple other things I've been reading about this week. NASA needs your help. There'll be more information coming, but we've mentioned on the show here the eclipse that's coming up April 8th. NASA's collecting a lot of information, I think, on propagation and how the eclipse might change the ionosphere and how it will affect propagation. Let's see.
Yeah, Brett's got a good
Yeah,
one there.
I see that. India landed on the moon. That is cool, man. And I think the same day the Russians tried to land it and they crashed. On the very same day that India made their,
Yeah, didn't India have a live stream of the landing externally?
I've seen some videos. They got some nice, pretty color videos of it there. Yeah.
Yep, they had a live stream and they had the Prime Minister on.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Very cool.
And they landed near the South Pole too, which is an area no one's ever landed on before. That's interesting because I think there's water there.
Really?
Yeah, and if there's water there, that means they could establish a colony and astronauts wouldn't have to haul their water.
You think
Very
their
cool.
water is the same as our water?
Well, the moon supposedly is a chunk of the Earth, so it must have come from here.
It may be. Might have.
Yeah, now the question is it hard or soft water?
And how much water? There might be just a little puddle there,
They don't know yet.
They don't know. Don't know.
Just the mere fact that there's water on the moon would be an amazing thing.
Yeah. Well, hey, if it is, that's where they can get your rocket fuel now, man. Get the hydrogen out, get the oxygen out, All right. Hey, let's see what time it is. Let's do this. We'll be right back in just a moment, and we're going to talk about some VPN stuff for ham radio. That's just what you're looking for. We have top quality base stations, mobiles, and handhelds that are perfect for working your favorite bands. Icom's newest amateur FM transceiver is the IC V3500. With a compact body and simple interface, this radio is a must for those looking for a long-range mobile with a fresh look. The ICT-10 is a rugged portable that meets or exceeds standard military testing. With an IP67 waterproof rating, the ICT-10 can withstand any field activities ahead. Hear transmissions and listen to FM broadcasts with the loud 1500 milliwatt speaker. The IC705 is a perfect sidekick and QRP companion. Base station features and functionality at the tip of your fingers in a portable package. covering HF 6 meters, 2 meters, and 70 centimeters. This compact rig weighs just over 2 pounds with an RF direct sampling for most of the HF band and the IF sampling for frequencies above 25 megahertz. Visit www.icomamerica.com/amateur for more information on Icom radios. Okay, hey Glenn, just a quick question, man. I know you've been doing some secret Bluetooth stuff for the ARRL, right? Glenn, can you hear me?
Yes, I have.
Yeah, look, hey, here's this month's QST, and there's the youth is on here. Let me see if I can get the glare off that. They must have a Bluetooth radio because there's absolutely no power connection and no antenna connection on the radio gear. So they must be using something you've designed there.
Yeah, that's a new technology. It's called Power over Bluetooth. It's very similar to Power over Ethernet, only you can send the power wirelessly. It's based on the Tesla style of power. So yeah, it's running wireless power, through the air there.
I'm trying to get the power over Bluetooth and
Power over Bluetooth.
RF over Bluetooth.
Yeah, so RF over Bluetooth. Well, Bluetooth is RF, so.
Well, it is.
Yeah, there's a repeater on the other side of the room that takes the Bluetooth and repeats it on HF.
Yeah. What frequency is Bluetooth?
2.4 gig.
Oh, so it's Wi-Fi.
Yeah, and we got ham band in the first 6 channels, so it's all legal.
All right. Hey guys, hey Britt.
We can run a kilowatt.
Britt, come on in here, Britt, and let's talk. Hey guys, I started looking at today at some VPN stuff. I've never really used a VPN myself, but I started looking at one provider out there. It's fairly affordable, a couple bucks a month, and the one I'm looking at has no limit on the number of devices that you can connect. So, and it works on your phone and your Apple and your iPad and your PC. It works on everything. So to get a little interested in that, I know VPN, and we're going to talk with Brett here, and he's going to tell us some of the things that Mike can help us with. I know when we were swatted a couple years ago, the perpetrator, should I call him a perpetrator? Yeah, the perpetrator that swatted us used a VPN connection from Wales to the police department to report that I had shot Katie Allen in the face with a 12-gauge shotgun. So anyway, that's a totally different story. We had a lot of fun that night, guys, on the show. So, but it was traced. My FBI guys here locally got involved, and after some time, they were actually able to trace it back and find the guy and go get him. So let's talk about VPN, and hopefully none of us are going to be making SWAT calls. Let's use it for a legitimate ham radio purpose here. Hey, Brett, what can we use it for, and do we need it?
Okay, well, let's talk about what a VPN is first. VPN, the abbreviation stands for Virtual Private Network. And what it basically is it lets your computer tunnel through the internet and pop up on some other network somewhere else at the other end. And so that's the virtual part. It's kind of like a Star Trek transporter for your computer. It can be somewhere else virtually without physically being there. And then there's the private part. The data that flows through it is encrypted so that people can't spy on what's going through, and you can only log in if you've got the right password and the right credentials. So it's private because nobody else can interfere with that connection, and you can go into a private network. It's not just you can pop out somewhere else on the internet. You can also go into a private network at the office or at your home or in your shack and get in there where the rest of the internet couldn't go because your firewall would block it. So that's the private part. And there's all kinds of uses for this that, for everybody and for hams in particular. Now, I work by day as an internet provider, so I set these up and I use them every day. So what I use it for is if I'm out of town, when I went to Huntsville, for example, and one of my customers had trouble back at home, I could use the VPN to tunnel back into the network, the ISP network that I run, and take a look at the radios on that wireless network, and because I'm a wireless ISP, and see, are the radios up? Are they down? Is the customer's router up? Is it down? So I could get back in and I could do work not only in my office, but also all over the ISP network. And I could still be in Alabama at the same time. So it was a lot of fun being able to do that. Now for hams, the reason why you probably want to use that is twofold. First thing is a lot of rigs have remote control. And now you can buy Icom software off the shelf that will control your rig. You can buy third-party software for a lot of rigs, and control your rig at home no matter where you are in the world. Now that's great, but the FCC is not going to look kindly upon it if somebody gets a hold of your rig and starts messing around and start doing things that isn't legal. So you want to set up a VPN for yourself. This wasn't something you'd buy a service to do. This is something you would set up for yourself so that you can tunnel back from elsewhere into your own network in order to do that. Now, that really isn't that hard to do. When you buy a router, a lot of the time the router will have a VPN server built into it. And all you need to do is turn that on and put in a password. There's a little skill involved in configuring it, but there are instructions all over the net. You can make it so that your router becomes a VPN server, and if you know its IP address, you've got a public IP, you can tunnel in there, and then you can control your rig, and nobody else can even get into your home network. You're not tearing down your firewall, so you still got some security. You can also control other stuff in your home. You can check your thermostat. You can look at your security system. So all sorts of other things like that are useful. And going the other way, a lot of ham clubs will set up a rig that members of the club can get into from elsewhere, and they'll set up a VPN so that only the members will have a password to use the rig's equipment. And there are ones I know that just south of where I am in Laramie in Colorado, they have some rigs that people can use if they're a member of the right club and they got the right credential, so they can go out there and do that. And then there's more general stuff. You can, if you tunnel through the internet and you come out somewhere else, and this is something that you may need to sign up with a service for. You can get around the region coding on things like certain videos. It's not supposed, it's only supposed to be published in a certain country, or if you want to see games that are sports games that are blacked out in one country that are visible in another. So there's a lot of things you can do with it that are really not ham related. But the things I just mentioned are the things that hams would be most interested in doing with it.
Well, yeah, I'm interested in a couple of things for both ham radio and just like you mentioned, the capability of getting maybe some of the videos out there that are blacklisted for your region. For instance, if there's a big football game being played in Memphis nationwide, I mean, they may have it blocked here locally. And I guess it's possible maybe to go out, just connect with a different VPN server, and it thinks you're there and you can watch the game. Is that right?
Yeah. If you have a friend who isn't blacked out and that friend sets up a VPN server, you can watch the stream live. If that friend has a video recorder, they can record the game for you, and you can come in later and get it too. There's a lot of things you can circumvent. When I have used it in the past, don't tell anybody. I've wanted to see shows that the BBC would only show in the UK, and I couldn't see them here in the United States without going through a VPN there. And so I had friends who would let me into their networks and let me monitor things from there. I would pop up in England, and the BBC would think I was in England.
Yeah. Well, I think it's called split tunnel or something where, there are some companies that maybe won't let you come in if you're on VPN, right? I mean, you can't get into them. They've got it
There are a
blocked
lot of
somehow.
companies that try to block VPNs, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
A lot of people advocate using VPNs to hide who you are as if you're doing something that you don't want people to know about. Well, the authorities know where you're coming out if you tunnel through a commercial VPN. If you go through one of those services, they know what the IP address you're going to have is at the exit point. And so they can track you down if you try to do something nefarious, like SWAT someone like happened to Tom.
Yeah.
By the same token, the video services and other services that want to restrict their services to a particular region, they try to do that too. And they use services which try to spot VPN exit points and try to block them. But so it's a game of cat and mouse. People who are inside the People's Republic of China try to use VPNs to get out and get news which the government is blocking, and the government keeps on trying to turn that off as well. So there's a lot of cat and mouse going on, but there is some legitimate usefulness to it.
Yeah. Well, what I was mentioning a minute ago was that maybe your bank or something, if you're running VPN, you might not be able to get into your bank for some reason. I don't know. And I think the one I was looking at gives you the ability to split. I guess it's called split tunnel, where you can have VPN, and then if you want to, you can identify this particular site, I guess, as a non-VPN site, where you'll be able to still access that site.
Yeah. Well, what a split tunnel is it's a mechanism which says if you're going to certain addresses on the internet, go through the VPN tunnel. But if you're going to other ones, don't do that.
Right.
That's if you're tunneling in instead of tunneling out. That happens pretty much automatically. Like if you suppose you're out there and you tunnel into your home. Only the traffic that goes to the IP addresses in your home, which are probably not even, they're not registered addresses on the internet. Only that traffic is going to go through the VPN. Where it gets more difficult to do the split is when you're going outward through the VPN to the internet. Then you have to specify, but not if you're tunneling inward to a network like for example, if you're ham controlling your rig.
Yeah. So it gives you a level of protection that you don't have, if you're not doing it now. You can password protect your remote base and all that kind of stuff, but if the guy gets in your network, he can do a lot of things. He may not get on your remote base, but if he gets into your home network, I guess that's an issue.
Yeah, well, that's why it's important to use a strong password and a good VPN. I mean, even the weakest VPN is not that easy to break into. There's a protocol which was the easiest VPN to set up, of course, which is called PPTP, which nowadays a lot of people don't use, and some carriers even block because they say it's not secure. Well, if you pick a good, strong password, even PPTP is still good. But there are fancier ones, like SSH tunneling is a good example of a very strong one. There's something called IPsec that's still in wide use. There's one called OpenVPN, which is completely free and runs on almost anything. And then there's another one now called WireGuard, which is really easy because you can leave it set up on your computer all the time, wherever you go, and it will just sort of automatically connect you. All you need to do is go to the address you've set up and you're home. So there are a lot of choices, and there's a lot of tutorials out there on the net that'll explain all these different options and what you can do with them.
So I guess the different options need to be kind of geared to what you're looking for, and I don't know what I'm looking for. I did notice that the company I'm looking at is called Shark. It's called Surfshark, and I think I did read where they have 4 different type. I guess VPN systems like you just mentioned. Do you know which one is best? Maybe you get to select which one you want to use.
A lot of it will, if you mean VPN systems, which protocol you use to tunnel, that will probably depend on your computer and which one you have the software for. For instance, as I mentioned, a lot of them don't do PPTP, so if your computer uses that, you won't be able to do it. There's another one called L2TP, Layer 2 Tunneling Protocol, which is a little more secure, and you can set that one up fairly easily. OpenPPN and WireGuard, again, are the latest things. They're all, like I said, someone really has to want to get you to want to break in. And so if what you're worried about is secrecy, I don't think you should worry too much.
So
unless you're
I
doing something
looked.
really nefarious, no one's going to even try to break into your connection.
Yeah, I have seen before the VPN option on a number of the wireless routers that I've used. In fact, I've got a whole tub of wireless routers here. I need to get rid of some of them, but I've seen the VPN option before and just never have used it. Once you set that VPN, and you're saying it's as simple as assigning a password, do you have to run some type of client on all your other PCs and telephones and things like that?
Yeah, yes, you do. But the good news is that the client is built into most of them. If you have a VPN server on your router, and most brands of routers have it, but if they don't, what you can do is you can load in third-party software. For example, you can use one that I use a lot is called Fresh Tomato, which will work on any router that has a chipset made by Broadcom in it, and that has a really nice VPN server. You just check the box to turn it on. You give it a username and a password and an address that it's going to have inside the network, the address you're going to pop out at, and then it's pretty much done. Then you just get your PC will have a menu which lets you set up a new VPN connection, and you can just go to that menu and do that. There are some you need a special client for. But if you do, it's usually fairly easy to download that, and there are instructions out there. I could give a tutorial on each one, but just in general, it's not that hard to set up. And even again, the simplest kind of VPN you can set up is one that's called an SSH tunnel. Mm-hmm. What SSH is if you want to have a terminal on a system somewhere else that runs something like Unix. And most routers these days run Linux under the hood, and so you turn on the server inside your router that does SSH, and then you use an SSH client on your computer, and you tunnel in, and you set it up so whenever you try to access something that looks like it's on your own computer, it tunnels through and comes out inside the network at the other end. It's called SSH forwarding, and it takes maybe about 5-10 minutes to set up. Yep. And it's really good for tunneling through to a ham rig or one particular device. It's not as good if you have lots of things you want to contact, because you have to set up all their addresses individually. But if there's one thing you want to control, you can do it in a few minutes. Yeah,
well, I use for my website, I use a company called SiteGround. Maybe you've heard of them. Mm-hmm. SiteGround, and we built our own Google map up to track our balloons and put it on there, and it was a little complicated for me to get going, but I used PuTTY, and I think we set up SSH using PuTTY to get into the server, and anytime I brought PuTTY up, it would automatically connect right to that server through SSH.
Yep, with PuTTY, you do it once, and then you save your configuration, and every time you start up PuTTY and log in that particular place, then the VPN comes up automatically.
Right. So
and
that's what was happening.
I actually use that a lot.
Yeah. So you had some software you said called Fresh Tomato. Where they come up with names like this, man?
Fresh that one has a history behind it. This fun fellow created third-party firmware for routers, open source firmware that was called Tomato. And after a while, he got tired of running the software project and kind of, for a few years didn't update it. And so some other people took the code and took it over because it was public, and started what they call a fork of Tomato, and they call it, because they wanted to distinguish it and say, hey, we're working on it again, they called it Fresh Tomato. But there are also several others. There's also OpenWRT, The WRT comes from the name of the old Linksys routers.
Oh, yeah.
You used to get.
Yeah.
There is also something called DDWRT.
Right, and I've got a router where we loaded the DDWRT on it. Yeah, and it does a lot of neat things.
They all have VPN servers in them.
Yeah.
So it's really, if you're running that software on your router already, it's extremely easy. And if you're not, again, some commercial routers will have a VPN server built into them, so you may not even need to run the open source.
My son is on here down in Texas. He just moved down near Houston, and he's in, I don't know, information security, whatever, over my head. Anyway, he's talking about buy a Meraki Z1 for $40 or $50, buy a 5-year license for $125. Now you have a cloud-based VPN. Configure one side and then take the other piece and plug it in any network, and bam. What do you think?
Well, it's a neat. Meraki has some neat stuff. Meraki and Ubiquiti do big, equipment which lets you do very fancy institutional Wi-Fi networks.
Yeah.
You don't need to spend that much though, unless you're running that kind of a network. I'd say you do that definitely if you have a company and you wanna get into your company's network and do that. But if you're an individual, the open source stuff is free, and so I would go with that rather than buying the license.
Yeah, okay. Well, fresh tomato, huh? I want to hear the story a little later if we have time, but let me throw out a story. When I worked with FedEx, FedEx was a very big company. We had, I think our employee count now is up to like 600, 800,000 people. But anyway, our IT group, we had so many different departments, and we finally, I guess to try to control cost, they put a department together that we're going to be the department that orders software for you. We don't want everybody out there ordering stuff. We're going to kind of standardize stuff. We're going to order it for you. So in early days, back when web design was just happening, and I needed an HTML editor. So I go to them and I say, I want this $39 software. Go buy it. And it was called Hot Dog. And they were in a big meeting one time talking about all the stuff they had to put up with. And they said, well, Tom Medlin, you never believe this. Tom Medlin ordered a piece of software called Hot Dog, and it was made by a company called Sausage. So I don't know. I guess probably names have changed a little bit since then. That was the early days,
Yeah, I actually had that too. So yeah.
Now it's probably a reference to not wanting to see sausage made.
Yeah, probably so.
Yeah, it was real simple web page editing software.
Yeah. Well, when I want to do a really simple web page, I still use something called Mozilla Composer with a K for some reason. Because it's just really easy and it's visual, and you can just type your web page and be done. And it's free.
I'll have to look into that. I have moved everything to WordPress. So WordPress is a little bit different now. They got a block editor and everything is done in blocks, and it's pretty cool.
WordPress is a lot more sophisticated, and of course you can also go to something like Wix, and they will give you templates for your whole website. You need to do very little in order to put up a nice looking one.
Yeah. All right, so let's say all of us hams, we have internet routers and access points in the house now, and let's say I've got the VPN option here. I can check that. I'm sure it'll kind of lead me through some of the things I would need to do, either turn on or turn off or whatever. I'm a little concerned about, like I have Xfinity here for my internet, and it's cable, Xfinity, Comcast, whatever you want to call it. So if I could turn on VPN here, I would have to find out. I would like to try to get everything on VPN. The telephones, the tablets. I got so many computers around here. That I'd like to put on. Probably wouldn't be any limit if I did it on my own router. You think that would be just as good as going out to some provider for VPN service?
Well, it depends on what you're doing with a VPN. If you put it on your own router, that's really useful if you're tunneling into your network. Whereas getting the third-party service is useful if you're going out and you want to you want to defeat region coding, or you want to disguise where you're coming from. In that case, you can use the VPN server, and again, if you're trying to hide something nefarious, it might not work really well. But if you're just trying to defeat region coding, it's worth it.
Well,
no, don't pay. If what you want to do is get to your own network from outside, the most you will have to pay for is a public static IP from your ISP. A lot of places will give it to you for free. Some of them, well, they're not real happy if you do that. You can get around it with dynamic DNS, and the IP address will change.
No IP or something like that, right?
Well, dynamic DNS is a little different. Dynamic DNS is where you where basically what happens is you have a domain, like w5kub.com, and your domain name server changes the IP addresses that are associated with the names when you tell it to.
Yeah.
And so even if your ISP changes your IP address on you, the domain name follows. And that's a nice thing to do if you have a VPN server, and they won't give you something that's static, that stays put.
Well, I've got some no IP accounts. Like we've got a camera over at our home in North Carolina. I mean, the IP changes every time the power goes off or something. So, and no IP allows us to use a URL type and always get to the camera. And I have one here too. So. So if I did that here, it'd be mainly inbound stuff, and my understanding too is the VPN services that I was talking about earlier, they can block all this advertisement and different things coming back to you.
They can't really block ads. As a matter of fact, the VPN can't necessarily fully hide your identity. If you've got cookies in your browser, and you come out through the VPN at the other end, the service, a service like Facebook is still going to spot those. If they fingerprint your browser, that fingerprinting is still going to work, and they're going to be able to identify you even if you're going through a VPN.
That's what I was wondering, because my reading, it was mentioning cookies and so forth, and it kind of seemed like in the text I was reading that you're not going to have cookies anymore, and you're not going to be, when you go surfing out there and you're looking up a vacuum cleaner, you're not going to be getting ads on a vacuum cleaner, on your TV now.
VPNs don't stop that. VPNs don't stop that because, again, cookies are in your web browser, and no matter what IP you're coming from, if they manage to set a cookie on your web browser, they can track you. There's other ways to defeat that, but a VPN isn't one of them.
Okay. Well, I got it. This is some good stuff tonight. So you got me thinking now that, what am I doing? And I don't know what I'm doing. So we'll be consulting with you here probably over the next few weeks, determine what we need to do here.
Well, again, a VPN is a really good tool. But it's when just because you have a hammer, everything shouldn't look like a nail. It's not the answer to everything. It's the answer to a couple of specific problems, or at least it works well at solving a couple of specific problems. We can talk about ad blockers and cookie blockers and other things as well. I use all of them. And I'm still not sure I'm protecting myself 100%, but I'm certainly protecting myself from a lot.
All right, for all of our viewers out there may not know this, and I don't know if I'm saying this right or not, but Brett started up a company that was the first internet wireless company. Is that right?
Yeah, Wikipedia says so. 31 years ago, I started up, just because the equipment became available, I started the world's first wireless ISP. What happened was that back then, only one place in my town of Laramie, Wyoming, had high-speed internet, and that was the University of Wyoming. And for the whole entire campus, 10,000 people, they had a T1 line.
Oh man!
which for those of you who don't know what that is, it had 1.5 megabits per second of internet.
Hey,
That's all they
DSL,
had.
why didn't he put a DSL in? It'd been faster.
The DSL didn't come along until nearly a decade later.
Yeah.
And cable modems came in after that. So people here wanted to get on the internet at high speed. They wanted to run servers. So what we did was we partnered with the university, and we borrowed a little of their bandwidth and got them to increase it a little and paid for some of it. And then we set up wireless all over town. We use these computer cards, which are called WaveLAN, which are sort of the great granddaddy of Wi-Fi. And we ran big, thick LMR 400 cables up to the roof and put up 900 megahertz antennas, because 900 megahertz was the first unlicensed band that you could run at even if you weren't a ham under Part 15. And we connected a bunch of people and businesses together, and it kind of grew from there. And here we are 31 years later. People are out of town. They're still out of reach of DSL. They're still out of reach of cable modem. They're not out of reach of satellite, but the satellite has high latency and they don't want to put up with that. So we still, after all this time, we still broadcast to the entire county. And we have a lot of loyal users to this day, 5 megabits, 10 megabits, 20 megabits. We can do up to a gigabit for them if they want.
Wow. That's something, man.
And just today I was up climbing a roof, putting up an antenna.
Oh, wow. So you must have a lot of good bandwidth now coming into that. I mean,
yes, we have multiple gigabits, and while we're in Little Laramie, Wyoming, we have microwave running to fiber, and the fiber runs straight to Denver. So middle of the country, middle of the internet. And once we get there, it's a couple of milliseconds to get anywhere else. But and we're faster than the cable company too, because the cable company goes all the way up to Montana and then it goes to Seattle. So their connection isn't as fast as ours getting to the hub. So yeah, we have, and it's fun to engineer. You know, I learned how to engineer microwave links. I used a lot of things which, and a lot of ham radio skills carry over. Just because you can't transmit a kilowatt doesn't mean that it isn't useful to understand radio and to have all the skills that you learn when you go and pass the tests.
All right. Okay, guys. Well, hey, I've learned something about VPN tonight. I hope the people in the chat room have also learned a little about it. I'm gonna have to go back and do some brush up and studying to see what you're saying now, because obviously either they were telling me a fib or I was not understanding it. It sounds like Brett has helped us to clarify some of the things that they're saying that they can do. Hey, I'm still waiting, guys. 31693 DMR. It's amazing. Nobody's called into the show yet.
Yeah. Say the first one that calls, you get a free ticket to Orlando.
Free ticket to Orlando? Well, he may not need it, though, see?
Maybe spot yourself on Facebook?
Let's see, what can I do? Some radio station gave away, what's that candy bar? Isn't there one called $1 million or something? What's that candy bar, Glenn?
The $100,000 bar?
The $100,000. Somebody on the radio station won $100,000. And when they gave it to him there after he realized what he won, he won a candy bar and he was really upset.
I would have been.
All right. Hey, Brett, tell us the story about maybe I was asleep, but I didn't hear the story about the tomato software.
Yeah, he said it. You fell asleep.
I must have.
Slept right through it.
Did he really?
Yeah, well, again, just quickly, Tomato Linux was one of the early alternate operating systems for Linksys routers. Remember those little blue and black Linksys routers? I've got one here in the shack. I could get it for you. The old ones, the WRT 54G.
Yep.
Seemed
those
like
are
everybody
big in the mesh
I
networking.
got a whole bucket of them right here inside my closet.
Uh-huh. Well, they people started hacked into it and figured out how to write their own operating systems for that one. And so a whole bunch of people started writing things, and there was DDWRT and OpenWRT and a few other WRTs. And then one of the spin-offs of that was called Tomato Linux. And I think they called it Tomato Linux because the user interface, it was a tomato red on a white background.
Gotcha.
And a fellow maintained that for years and years, and as I said, he kind of burned out. This happens with open source software projects. And so someone else took it over, took the code, started updating it again, and he was starting fresh, and so he called it Fresh Tomato.
All right.
And so this fellow named Pedro, if you look on the web, he's and he'll answer your emails if you contact him about it, is still developing Fresh Tomato. The last release was about April of this year.
And those same routers, that WRT54, along with some ubiquities, are what's used in the mesh networking stuff. And again, they flash it with code very similar to the Fresh Tomato.
Yep, Arden is based on OpenWRT, although lately they've been moving away from Ubiquiti hardware. They're moving now to MikroTik because Ubiquiti tried to lock down their hardware so nobody could put anyone else's code on it, and MikroTik was friendlier. But there still are a lot of Arden networks running the Ubiquiti hardware.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought of another question. Let's go back real quick to our topic here. Having the VPN must also help protect you. For instance, if you're on your phone, you're on a Wi-Fi at McDonald's, surely if you've got that VPN client on there, somehow that's giving you some protection, isn't it, Britt?
It might give you a little. Nobody can tell where you're going or what you're doing if you go through the VPN, except they can tell you're using the VPN. On the other hand, if you're going to your bank, everything is heavily encrypted anyway. Mm-hmm. And so what you're worried about is people spying, that encryption and going to your bank's website is just as strong as the VPN's encryption. So there really isn't a net gain from that. It's mainly if you want to hide what you're doing. Not so much if you're worried about the data being decrypted.
Right. Yeah, that's what I was reading about it. You're actually hiding what you're doing, where you're going, those type things.
Yep, that's right. And that might or might not be of interest to some hacker in a coffee house, but you never know. It will slow you down. Because if you're going all the way back to a VPN server and only then going out through the internet, there's going to be more lag. So if you want to watch a video, don't use the VPN. That'll slow you down. Your video is probably going to buffer. That's not the use case for it.
Okay. All right. Well, maybe I just need to hold off on my VPN then. I think they were promising me a lot more than I thought I was going to get, and it sounds like maybe I'm not going to get as much as they're promising to me.
Well, they're trying to sell their service, and who knows, maybe they'll offer you, along with the VPN service, maybe they'll offer you tips on how to install the cookie blocker. Maybe they'll give you tips on how to do the other things. But the VPN itself can only do so much.
Yeah. All right, guys. Hey, let's talk about something else here for a minute. I may be doing another balloon launch maybe next month. I'm going to try. We've got a retirement center here, a brand new big retirement center that's got a lot of people in it, and we've been invited to come over and give a little presentation and maybe launch a balloon. And that way, when these guys in their robo chairs, they can go outside and they can watch the launch, and then they can go back to their room, and they can, every day give them something to do maybe. I don't know. So we're going to probably launch one here maybe in about a month. Let me tell you where we are. 113 is just doing amazing. Every day it's breaking ground, and we set a new record. Here's where we are today. We're just near Madagascar, and we're flying at, I don't know what that, about 46,000 feet, I think. The altitude has been just perfect ever since launch day. We haven't lost any altitude at all. So that's one map there. If you want to see it in its entirety since launch, here's another map that shows how it's been flying. We've been up now, I think, 328 days. Our record, of course, was 320 days. We think W5KB112 is still flying, but we think the transmitter just went bad on us. It was getting real weak. Even though it was getting very weak, and almost no one picking it up, the altitude was still good. So we think the transmitter just quit on it. So 320 was the best that we could actually prove that we did. Now 113 now is flying. It's reporting every day. So each day it reports a new position and a new record. So we're at 328 days. We're going to hit a year. We'll hit 1 year with this flight. I'm almost certain we will. So we're real happy about that, and we hope that the one we launch next month stays up that long. Who knows? It may come down. It may come down in 1 week. We've got hurricanes out there now, up in the northern hemisphere, and if we launch next week, it may try to pass over one of the hurricanes, and if it does, it's likely it will bring it down. So that's the status on that guy. Let's see.
I still think it's amazing that, you're getting 320 something days. When I remember the first few launches, we were lucky to get 2 days.
Oh yeah.
We were even lucky to get out of the United States with them sometimes.
Yep. So things have changed, man. Years of experimentation and techniques and stuff like that, I think has made a big improvement.
Absolutely, it's cool.
All right.
What else you got on that list?
The what?
What else you got on your
Well, I don't
magic
know.
list?
Hey, just some odds and ends. Hey, do you know QRZ is 30 years old now?
Wow.
30 years old, man. QRZ. Everybody takes that for granted. You put your call letters.
Yeah, we do.
You take your call letters. You look the guy up. It's all there. We didn't have computers back then, did we? We did 30 years ago, but back when I started, we didn't. We had the ham radio call book.
Exactly.
It was about this size, but it was about 3/4 inch thick. Did it come out quarterly or twice a year? I don't remember now.
I think it came out once a year, and they did quarterly updates.
Nah, really?
Yeah, because I remember it was like this thick for the United States, and then they would send out updates every so often.
If you wanted the international call book, that cost you extra too. So,
that was extra as well, yeah.
1964, I bought a call book, and that's what I used the rest of the time, man, until the internet came around. You couldn't afford one every year.
Yeah, Don's saying quarterly.
It came out quarterly.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but Papa Doc snuck in on us.
Yeah, you must have been asleep. I mentioned he was in here.
Oh, I must have been asleep.
Yeah, remember his prize. You even commented his prize didn't.
Oh yeah, he won the comment. I know. I wanted that thing.
Yeah, his prize didn't make it today, although it was.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, your memory's getting like mine, man.
Yeah. Well, you got to remember, I'm up at 5 a.m. now on Tuesdays and Wednesdays.
Well, hey, I got up at 8 a.m. this morning.
Well, pretty soon I'll be there when I get to retire like you.
Well, I had to get up at 8 a.m. this morning because the irrigation guy was coming here, and I hate it when somebody rings the doorbell and I'm still sleeping, man.
Yeah,
you got to jump up. Where's my glasses? You're sleepy. Your hair's sticking up. You got to put some clothes on. Got to run to the door. And then you got to figure out how to turn the alarm off. Your eyes are so are so messed up. Wait, just a minute. Oh man, I hate that.
Yeah, I don't function real well when the alarm goes off.
Yeah. All right. Let's
I
talk.
had to get up at 6 in the morning and get coffee to go up on rooftops before it got too warm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, hey, the show is about electronics. We're going to talk electronics a little bit. I've got these valves. I got 16 valves around the yard out there that turn the water, that zone, on and off. And some of those valves have been covered up with dirt and grass for years. So I've identified and found most of them. There's a few that I probably still hadn't found. There at the sprinkler controller, you got a wire going to each valve, and I've got a tone transmitter that's made for irrigation, so you can put the tone on like zone 4, the wire on zone 4, and then you get the earphones and the pickup where you can go out there on the ground and you can try to find that tone. The problem is they use multi-conductor cable, and all the different zones pretty much show up in the same cable everywhere, and it makes it more difficult. I was thinking, Glenn, of a different way, a cheaper and a better way to find these zones. What we do, we take a relay. We take a relay. You know how you can wire a relay to latch? When you put power on, the relay will latch and it won't unlatch, right?
Mm-hmm.
Instead of running the power through that way, run it through the top side where it's off. In other words, when power hits it, the relay will energize, but then it'll break its connection, right?
Uh-huh.
And then it'll go back and it'll energize and it'll break its connection. In other words, it'll just go back and forth like this.
You want it to buzz.
You want it to buzz. All right, you put that on zone 4 or zone 5, and you walk around out there in the yard and you listen. You listen at the ground for the solenoid, clicking on and off out there. I think that would be much better than trying to send a tone down.
Unless you're looking for the one that's broken.
Oh, well.
Yeah.
Well.
What if it's got an open coil?
Well.
It won't
yeah,
buzz.
you're right. Yeah, if it's an open coil, we got a problem. Oh, man.
But if it's on the other hand, it could pulse the water if you turn the water on, and then it'd be really obvious which one it was.
Oh, I don't know if it could pulse that water that fast, but hey, Glenn, you done messed I was gonna market that, man. I was gonna sell them on eBay for $19.95 each. The relay.
No, your best bet is like a Cat 5 Ethernet cable toner, and just tone it out. Signal toner.
What a Cat 5? Well, like I say, I've got a cable. I've got a toner that I hook on the wire, and I've got a special. It's a special irrigation. The earphones and the receiver. It's on a long handle that actually rubs the ground almost. The receiver. But that wire just about goes through every zone. I mean, it's like a multi-conductor cable.
Right.
With like 16 wires in it, and it goes through every, you got to find where it stops.
If you connect it to the individual conductor,
yeah,
it will go to where that individual wire goes. Yes, there will be some induction on the other wires, but that will be significantly less.
Yeah, but I'll also pick that up at 4 or 5 or 6 other valves.
Well, you're going to go wherever that conductor goes through. Yeah.
Yeah, that conductor.
How about putting a little tiny LED across the solenoid?
Well, the problem is it's covered up with dirt and grass. I don't know where it is. I'm looking for it.
What you're going to have to do is choose each of the conductors and trace it out, and that would tell you where each conductor physically goes to.
Well, of course that's what we do, but finding the other end of it is the problem.
That's what I'm saying. You do that, and then you go find the other end, and it's going to be a process of elimination.
Yeah,
you're only going to,
like for zone 4, I pull the zone 4 wire off the controller. I'll put the tone on just that single wire, and I go out and I follow it on the ground, all over the yard. I go through maybe 4 or 5 different valves because it's a multi-conductor cable, and that yellow wire goes everywhere, man. You know.
It goes through all of them, yes, but
Yeah.
at some point it's going to terminate.
Yeah, yeah. At some
And see,
point
the
it
thing is, if the end
terminates.
is open, you're not going to know where it is.
At some point it terminates, but how do you know where it terminates?
Well, the tone would stop. It'll still tone even if the coil is open on the relay. So you just have to map each one out in your yard, and then you look for which valve is not turning on, and you know that's where it's at, but you got a good tone, so you know you've got this hole in the yard that you don't recognize.
Well, I had a valve last night that wouldn't turn off.
That
So,
would not turn off.
yeah, so I'm getting a new valve put in tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I decided to let the irrigation guy do it. I mean, I could dig the hole, I could get down there, I could cut the PVC pipe in half, I could put a new valve in. But you know what? I'd get dirty and hot and sweaty, and it's been really hot here.
Let me tell you something. I went to Home Depot on Saturday,
Yeah.
and we bought stuff to work on my deck and whatnot. We bought 60 16-foot boards, and all we had to do was unload them from my friend's trailer. It was so hot that it took us 3 separate sessions, and when we were done, we said, we are not going to work on this deck today. It was 100 and something degrees. We just said, no, we're not doing it. We'll come back next week. It's just too hot.
Yeah, yeah. You know, and I've been ready to go up on the roof and work on my rotors all this past week, and Kathy has reminded me it's too hot out there. And
No,
let me
the
tell you,
roofs are
man,
like ovens,
hey,
man.
Hey, just going outside and walking around, you come in just drenched, man. I mean,
Yeah.
it was bad. Now today,
That's what I'm saying. All we did was lift boards and carry
Yeah.
them onto my deck, and that
Yeah.
was just too much work.
regarding my irrigation circuit, it's a multi-conductor. It's like a 20 pair. I'm not 20 pair, but 20 conductor cable. One common. You got one common, and you got one wire for each zone. But that multi-conductor cable pretty much routes through a lot of different zones. So
That's why I say you're going to have to
end.
map it out, and
You
it will
gotta get
take
to
you
the
all
end.
the way to the valve. And if you don't know there's a valve there, or if you don't see a valve or whatever, then you know that valve is dead.
Yeah, I just need to get you over here to do it, Glenn.
You can't pay me enough.
Well, I'd get you. I'd give you an RC cola and a moon pie.
Not in this heat. You'll have to wait.
Well, you better
until
be
winter.
nice to me, because I took the mouse off your nose a few minutes ago. I'll put it back.
Yeah. Oh.
Yeah,
But-
these relays are not relays. The solenoids are AC. They will work on DC. You can put DC to an AC solenoid.
Yeah, you would just have to look for the one that's not working. So basically, trace every conductor, map it out on a little chart of your backyard where it goes, and if you cannot identify a valve there, then that's the valve that's not working, where the wire stops and there's no water.
You know, there was a '60s song, "Easier Said Than Done." I don't know if anybody
Yeah.
ever heard that song or not.
I don't remember that one.
Easier said than done. You don't remember that song?
Don't remember that one. No, you're older than me,
Oh,
though.
man. How many remember that song? Easier said than done. Let's see if anybody in the chat room, you know. Heck, I asked them in the chat room who Alan Freed was the other day. Last year, nobody knew.
Yeah, Brett had a good idea there. You can
What's
measure
that?
the voltage and current on each wire.
You can also measure voltage and current.
Yeah, because the one that's not working may be open. Of course, that's assuming it's open. I don't know, Teresa. Of course, I may have to hear the music itself, but it doesn't sound familiar to me.
Well, let me just see. I'm going to do something.
Yeah, he's going to have to find.
I'm going to find
Yeah,
it.
Brett, you got it. The one that fails will be different.
Oh, man. Oh, man. I got strangled here. All right. I'm probably going to get kicked off of YouTube. surely you've heard this.
I probably have. Just
let's see if it's it. I gotta wait. All right, get ready.
we're ready.
All right, easier said than done.
My friends all tell me go to him, run to him, say sweet lovely things to him and tell him he's the one. Deep in my heart, I know it, but it's so hard to show it 'cause it's easier said than done.
Nope, do not know that
You've
one.
never heard that? How many people?
Never have heard
how
that.
many people in the chat room have heard that?
I've heard that one, but it's been a long time.
This proves Glenn is not a. He's got to be an alien. He's got to be an alien. Oh man.
Well, you know what that means.
Well, I probably just hit YouTube's copyright deal, and they're probably gonna kill me tonight.
It was an Essex song in 1963. Do you know how old I was in 1963? I was 5 years old.
I've got a love so true and yet I'm sad and new 'cause it's easier said than done.
Nope, did not ever remember hearing that.
Oh man, gee. So even Brett's heard it.
Well, he may have heard it, but I didn't hear it.
You need to get out more often.
Well, that's the truth. Yes.
Yeah,
I won't argue you
YouTube,
there.
hey, Britt, YouTube flags me for everything, man. You are when we play the 30 minutes up front, I get flagged. I get flagged like crazy. Copyright. But they usually come back. Most of them, they come back and say, although this is copyrighted, in fact, I probably don't even need the BMI license because they come back and said, you know, this is covered under common something license, and that the
Common use license.
yeah, that I guess the person that made it say it's okay for you to use it, but they may put advertisements on your page, so they let you use it anyway. So, you know, now I do get blocked. Last week we had a song, I forget what it was. The last couple of weeks we've been blocked. A certain song is blocked in Russia. It can't be heard in Russia, so I forget what it was. I could look it up, but so far, you know, we've been
Back in the USSR?
Yeah.
There you go.
So far, we've been pretty good about not getting, you know, hammered by YouTube. I think one time if I get 3 flags on YouTube, they don't call them flags. I forget because I don't get them that much. But if I got 3 strikes, they call it strikes. If I get 3 strikes on YouTube, they'll shut me down for like 2 months before I can come back on. So, you know, I think I've only got 1 strike before. I did challenge it with my BMI license. Nobody at YouTube listens. I think they're all AI, you know, artificial intelligence there, and so, you know, it doesn't do any good to argue with.
Well, that's because they're my fellow aliens.
Yeah.
You know, you make one of us mad, you make us all mad.
Yeah.
Now, Twitch is much nicer about it. Instead of blocking you completely, if they think you violated copyright, they just mute the sound on that one section.
Well, and that would be cool if they would do that on YouTube, but they won't do it on YouTube. They send you a nasty letter. Yeah. All right. Hey, everybody out there listening on shortwave, you're listening to WBCQ 7490. And this program is Amateur Radio Roundtable, a show about ham radio, shortwave, electronics, and various other things. Tonight, We've been talking about internet and VPN. If you're out there listening, send us an email. We'd love to hear from you. Send us an email to tom@w5kub.com, tom@w5kub.com. Also, hey, if you're listening out there on a podcast, we got all these people that are driving up and down a highway out there, and they're, they're listening, but I don't know you're listening. I don't see you in the chat room. I saw a note the other day where we've had like 50,000 downloads in like, I don't know, last 8 months or something. Hey, if you're out there listening to the podcast, send us an email and tell us that you're listening so I won't shut it off. I mean, I have to go through certain steps each week to get the audio put on the podcast. So it takes me a few minutes. And shoot me an email if you're listening out there. We may not have anybody listening now. Shoot me an email to tom@w5kub.com. All right. All right, guys. Let's see. What else? Oh, join our Facebook group. It's called W5KUB. We'd love to have you join that Facebook group. And if you're on YouTube here watching the show, if you would, hit that subscribe button right there. I'm helping you out right there. I'm pointing toward it. Hit the subscribe button. That will help us out greatly. All right, guys. What else is on our agenda tonight? I don't have anything else on the agenda.
Oh, you're out of stuff on your notes?
Well, I don't even know where my notes went. Here are my notes. Social media. Somebody suggested in the chat room, or not the chat room, the Facebook group, we should have a social media manager. Guys, the job is open. We're now hiring for Amateur Radio Roundtable. We have an open position for social media manager. This is a pretty high job. We will pay you 15% more than we pay all of our other co-hosts. So if you want to join, your responsibilities would be to help us promote the show. For instance, during the Huntsville Hamfest, didn't think about it, but someone gave us the idea that if we had a social media manager that could help, hit things like Facebook and Twitch and Twitter and different things about, our webcast is going, we could have probably doubled or tripled our number of our viewers. So we really need somebody to help us as a social media manager. The pay is really good. If you do sign up for that and you get accepted, please don't let Glenn know how much we're paying you.
Yeah, I was going to say, isn't it about time for me to get a raise?
Yeah, I tell you what, Glenn, I'm going to give you a 5% tonight.
There you go.
Right,
Thank you.
All right. You have 5%, yeah. Okay.
That'll work.
Okay. Our DMR 31693. Nobody has called us on that. Let's see if anybody's listening. This is W5KUB on Brandmaster Talk Group 31693. Amateur Radio Roundtable. Anybody out there? All right. That IP radio costs about $500. This is an expensive radio. And nobody wants to talk to me. Nobody wants to talk to me on it.
I like the fact that it does all three of them.
Yeah.
All three of the modes.
Yeah. It's just a matter of hitting the touch screen and changing DMR.
That's kind of cool.
All right, nobody. I'm disappointed. So, hey guys, we used to have a net before the show on 40 meters. It was taking too much of my time to try to run the net right before the show. Usually, 30, 45 minutes before the show, I come in here and I find out everything is not working. And I start panicking, and it takes me a while to get everything working, or just about the time to start the show. So that was just too much work. I'm looking for people that might want to call a net for Roundtable. If we got anybody out there like to call a net on 40 meters, 20 meters, multiple bands, we can have multiple people. Let's just call a net and just have a roundtable, guys. I'll try to get on and talk with you guys too. Hey, you can send me an email or report in each Tuesday night, and we can say, we had, we had 918 check-ins, or we had, 5 check-ins or whatever, and just give us an update, So I'm looking for somebody that may want to volunteer to do a net.
While we're looking for volunteers, I've got a cobweb that didn't do well this last winter. My neighbors dropped some pine limbs on it.
Yeah.
So I need somebody to come on over and restring my cobweb. Get that thing back on the air.
Yeah.
It's gotten cool, so you can stand on my roof and do it. Wouldn't take you long. And I'll pay you twice what Tom is paying me to do it.
Sound like a deal.
Works for me.
But they have to furnish their own gas to get down here. We don't pay mileage.
No, we don't pay mileage.
Let's
And
see.
yes, Brett, it's a true MFJ cobweb with the 40-meter option.
Hey, we could have the net after the show.
We could, but I'd be in bed.
Yeah, well, Glenn is going to go to bed. 9:30, 10 o'clock.
It's my bedtime, man.
We could have a net after the show. Mark, I think someone asked me, how do I know the volume's turned up? The display here has got a neat little volume indicator. As I turn the volume up, there's 13, 14, 15. It's turned almost all the way up. Oh, man.
Yeah, that's the cool thing about digital radio is that there's no static.
Now, Brett asked, is it a cobweb or a hex beam?
Yeah, that's why I said it's a cobweb. It's a true MFJ cobweb with the 40-meter option.
Okay.
And I really like it. It's just the only place in my house I could put it. It's got these big pine trees, about 20 feet above it, and they tend to drop limbs and stuff during ice storms.
Yeah, Teresa, peanut butter or popcorn.
Yeah. No, tonight I think it's
maybe
going to be
popcorn.
peanut butter. I'm
It may
in
be
a peanut butter mood.
tonight, yeah. Oh, yeah, I mean, if anybody would like to do a net, let's do a net. We can do multiple nets, multiple bands. We can have you on the show to report it each week, or you can send in a report each week. I think that'd be cool to do. All right, what else did I have on my list? Master Kiss. I think we hit on everything. I will work on my rotor tomorrow and see if I can't get that thing going.
Yeah, hopefully it's, it may just be stuck and you just have to bump it. What I have to do is I have to bump mine in both directions a little bit and eventually it releases.
Yeah.
But again, mine's 15, 20 years old.
Did you say you had 40 meter on that?
No,
Yeah.
that's where I've got my satellite antennas.
You don't have the 40 meter option on the cobweb?
Yes, I do.
Oh, do you? Okay. That makes it a little bit larger.
At my DPM. What is that, Teresa?
Glenn.
Take a look at my D/PM. Not.
Oh, your DPM. Yeah. Yeah.
What is my
Hey,
DPM?
Glenn, check that real quick.
Yeah, if once I knew what it was, I would.
I mean, really, you need to get right on it, man. I wouldn't wait much longer. Check that. The DPM.
Yeah, it probably. Oh,
What is it?
somebody sent me
Oh.
a private message.
No, they didn't send you a private message.
I'm not seeing one, but I'll
They
go
didn't
look.
send it. They sent you a private message.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm not seeing one. Maybe there is one. Oh, gee, there was one.
Was there? All right, let's see. We hadn't had any, we'll see, Ben. We haven't had any,
Yeah,
an-
for some reason, this chat doesn't really flag that I've got a private message. So there it is. Okay.
Colorado, got one coming up. That's a little far for me to go, but I'm looking for some ham events to go to, actually. I'd love to go to some. The BARC Fest, Colorado. QSO Today, yep. QSO Today, that's September the... QSO Today Academy, September 8th through the 10th. You know, the ants have done a good job flying ever since the other balloon was shot down, and they steered the balloon to the Antarctica region to get out of Dodge. They did really good. We were a little worried that they might have trouble. Right after that one was shot down, we were over Hawaii heading toward the U.S. I thought we were going to get shot down. But they were smart enough to take it down to the southern hemisphere. Houston Hamfest in March. Man, Teresa, that's a long drive. My son lives right outside of Houston now. Chris is in here, AC5CM. He's in, what's the city in? Missouri City? Why they name a city Missouri City in Texas? That don't seem right.
That was just to confuse you.
Yeah, he lives down in Missouri City, and he'll be coming home here in about a month, driving home. It's at least a 10-hour drive. That's about the same it is for us going up to Dayton, man. It's just too far for us to drive, man. Raleigh, North Carolina, RARS Fest next April.
Yeah, that might be one worth going.
Well, if we talk about April, we've got the Memphis Free Fest in April.
You got the Memphis Free Fest. There's the Collinsville, Illinois Winter Fest on January 27th.
Yeah.
You've got the Jackson Ham Fest, like the last weekend in January, last Saturday in January. Then, of course, Orlando in February. And also Dalton, let's see, Dalton is, I got all this down. You've got Dalton on February 24th. There's also Chattanooga is in October. I want to say it's like October 24th or something. And then you've got Atlanta in June.
Well, I can't make the October. Guys, in October, I'm going in for a little surgery on the eyeballs here. I told the people I'm allergic to needles and lasers in the eye, but that didn't seem to bother the doctors. So I'm going to have 2 eyes fixed. October, I think October 12th, I have the first eye done, and then they're going to wait about a week, and then they're going to do the other eye.
Yeah, it tends to be the way they do that.
Yeah. That way, if they mess up and you go blind in one, you don't go blind in both of them. So.
Right. Yeah.
So anyway, I told them, I said,
they'll
they'll give me an IV there to make me comfortable. I said, you better make me more than comfortable. I said, whoever's working that thing, he better turn the drip up.
I was just going to say, yeah, he's going to need to turn it up to about an 11 or 12.
He's going to have to turn the drip up on that IV. 'Cause I tell you, man, when I start seeing scalpels and lasers coming toward the eyeball, let me tell you, that's fighting things that I'm seeing right there.
I was just going to say, yeah, tell them to set you to Woodstock +3.
Woodstock plus, yeah, that's a good.
That ought to be about right.
Yeah.
You'll be seeing white rabbits and stuff.
Yeah. Oh, now Clifton says you're awake the whole time. Yeah, Clifton.
Actually, you are, yes.
You're awake, but Clifton, my understanding is you don't remember it. That's what everybody's telling me that's had it done, and they say you don't remember it. So I better not remember it. Let me tell you, I better not. Heck, man, I want to know how they keep that eyelid open. They tape it open or they super glue it open. What do they do, man?
I think they staple it open.
Oh, gee. Oh, man.
You know, they pull the eyelid up and they kind of staple it to your forehead.
Yeah. You better put that drip on about 15 then.
I'm probably not far behind you. They're probably
See
going
if
to
I
give
can-
that to me in a
see if
couple
I
of
can-
years.
Yeah, I've got to have it. I've realized I've got to have it done. Things are starting to get a little dark, you know.
Yeah.
I see a dark, kind of a hazy, you know. I mean, things aren't as clear as they used to be.
Yeah, for me, it's the night vision. I got the starring kind of stuff happening on the night vision.
Oh, gee. Mark says they
It's
use
starting.
clothespins. I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah, clothespins.
Or maybe a toothpick prop it open. I don't know, man. Woo.
Yeah.
Now I'm thinking, do I even want to show up now? Oh,
Yeah.
man.
Well, the good news is the stuff they give you,
Yeah.
they're doing all this work on somebody else. You just, you know, you're just watching.
Yeah. Yeah.
That was the way my I had my wisdom teeth pulled probably about 35, 40 years ago. And it was very similar to that is I am thoroughly convinced that he pulled somebody else's wisdom teeth and I watched. It turns out that he was probably rated one of the best oral surgeons in all of Alabama. And he was a Grateful Dead groupie. And I think that's all that needs to be said as far as the anesthesia that I got.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, I'll be honest, I did not have one lick of pain after that whole event. He pulled all 4 wisdom teeth at the same time.
You know what I'm going to hate the most? I hate eye drops, man. I hate eye drops.
Now, I had a friend actually go through similar surgery last month, and he said it was the best thing that happened to him.
Oh, yeah, everybody does. Everybody says that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Everybody does, man. But I hate eye drops. You're going to have to hold me down and hold, pry my eye open.
Now,
I
Russ
gotta
is
do it.
asking in the chat room here, what causes a latching relay to buzz? That's going to tell me that it's being consistently pulsed to be turned on or turned off. And a latching relay is designed to be hit with a pulse at one time. So whatever it's causing it to buzz, you're probably hitting it with multiple pulses.
Well, you can also have a latching relay that's not pulsed. That's a steady. If you run the power through the contact where it closes on, it'll stay on until the power.
If it's constantly on, but
Yeah.
it'll buzz if it's pulsed.
Well, it could be AC, buzzing.
Yep, you got AC on the
Yeah.
line instead of DC. Yep.
Yeah, could be a lot of things. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Chris is saying they peel your lid open with Scotch tape.
Yeah, maybe. Well.
Actually, I think they use duct tape.
Oh, that real sticky, yeah.
That
Yeah,
that gorilla tape.
That
kind of
would
stuff.
hold good on a forehead. A big old piece,
Yeah.
piece of what's that?
Yeah, gorilla tape.
Put that. They better use gorilla tape on me, man. I'll be yanking it off, man.
Yeah. Trust me, you will not be in the mood to yank anything off.
Oh man. Well,
I keep my eyes open. Just use caffeine.
I'll tell them. I don't know what I'll tell them. I'll tell them.
Like I say, just tell them to set you to Woodstock
I'll
plus
tell
3.
them, don't do the.
You'll be fine.
Don't do the crime if you can't do the time.
That's it.
Yeah.
It's not going to be that bad.
Yeah.
I mean, heck, I stayed overnight and they done popped me open and hit my reset button.
Oh man, that's tough.
And I never felt a thing. Yeah, we need to be on 40 meters on that medical net they got talking about all this stuff.
Trying to think. I see Doc is already gone, so we can't ask Doc
Doc's
any medical
gone.
questions here.
Yeah, Mark wants to know what type
What
of surgery.
that I'm having?
Yeah.
I'm having cataracts removed. They'll bombard the lens with a laser and break the lens and cataract all the pieces, and then they stick some kind of vacuum cleaner in there to suck all that out, And then they just put a new little lens in, a little plastic lens, man. They just stick it through a little slit in there. And
Yeah, a little bit of super glue, and you're all set.
And he tells me it takes like 10 or 15 minutes.
Yeah, they've got that down to a simple little science.
Yeah. So, you know, I'm gonna go all out and get the better, you know, I mean, you know, Medicare will pay for a standard lens. And, you know, if you want something like a bifocal, but they've got a lens now that they're perfecting, and what it is, you know, I have bifocals, and you know, I'm wondering, okay, they put a bifocal lens there. What if that lens turns sideways? Am I going to go, you know, like, you know, one eye turns sideways and one eye don't? And
actually, don't they sew that lens into place?
No. I talked to the doctor about that, and he says, here's what they do: the lens have circular, they're circular, and they have rings. Okay, so you can imagine, you know, your bifocal lens it's a ring that goes all the way around, and then your mid distance, it's within that, and it goes all the way around, and then of course your I guess.
So you're close up when you look way up or way down?
Well, I don't know how it works. I hadn't got one yet, but you obviously your eye, just your brain or whatever, you look through the right part of the lens. If the lens turns on you, it's all the same. You know, it's, you know, like the outer, the outer edge all the way around will be the same lens. You know,
I've had bifocal contacts before, and it's actually one piece is weighted just slightly different, and that piece will always gravitate towards the bottom as the lens rotates.
Yeah. So I've got one eye a little stronger than the other, but you know, it's not a trick, but it's what I'm trying to say is you got to really be an expert to do this. I mean, to put those lenses in. So what they're going to do, even after I get the eyes fixed, I may still have to wear glasses for something.
Yeah.
Either for close reading or for long distance. And he told me, he said, which one would you prefer if you had to have? But these ringed lens are made to take care of that, where you don't have to have glasses, but more than likely, I mean, I'll be able to see small, but more likely to read. I'll probably still have to get some reading glasses, but I won't have to wear glasses, you know, all the time.
Yeah, you ought to get them to give you the X-ray lenses.
So what they're going to do is they're going to make one lens for close-up. They're going to make one lens for like a little further out. Now, to me, that sounds crazy.
They actually do
that's
that.
What they do. That's what they do.
I tried that with contacts, but they have to determine which is your dominant eye,
right.
And they really couldn't determine which of my eyes was dominant, so that did not work with me.
So even though you got one that's focused closer and one that's focused a little further away, he says your brain matches those together somehow.
Yeah, your brain does blend the vision, and it works real well for most people.
You don't really know that.
Yeah.
So
it did not work for me, but yeah, that tends to work very well.
So I go in this week. They'll run all the major tests they need, you know, all the measurements and stuff. I just hope he don't use a lot of dental tools when he probes around on that eye, you know.
Yeah.
I'd not like it, man.
Yeah. Well, the good news is, you know, now you can be a member of the Borg Collective.
Oh, the who?
The Borg Collective. You're not a Star Trek person?
I don't know. Star Trek? What is that?
Let's just say that you're going to be about the, $150,000 man with this one?
I don't know what you're talking about.
Oh, come on. Surely you watched the $6 Million Man.
Man, that was a long time ago.
They're replacing parts of you one at a time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. But I do remember Easier Said Than Done.
Yeah, you do that, but you didn't remember $6 Million Man or the Borg.
What's the board?
Star Trek: The Next Generation. They were
I
bad
didn't
guys.
get into the Star Trek stuff too much.
The Borg Collective, yes.
Yes.
Oh no.
Yes. Resistance is futile. Yeah, with inflation, the $6 million man is the $23 million man now. Yeah,
Yeah.
at least. But yep, we're all getting to that point that we have to start adding parts. Parts we get are wearing out.
All right. Hey guys, everybody out there listening on Shorewave, thanks for being with us tonight. We got 1 minute until sign off. Actually, we just signed off. Thanks to everybody for watching tonight and joining us, and we'll see you next week. All right, guys. Well, I think
Perfect timing.
it's popcorn time.
Amen.
Yeah.
Peanut butter time.
Yeah. Good night, everybody. We enjoyed being with you tonight. And Brett, thanks for being with us and telling us all about VPN. I'm going to go study it now.
No, glad to be here. Thanks for having me.
All right, man. We'll see you guys. Let me